Dude, dude. This most recent My Hero Academia manga chapter is literally, I mean, literally insane. We get, we get a meeting of Deku, talking to the other users of One for All, with the exception of the second and third users for some reason. I guess they're on timeout. They're like literally fit. We see them in a chapter, and they're just their faces are turned. So Horikoshi's still hiding their faces on who they are. But we essentially get the confirmation of what One for All truly is about. The fact that Deku is apparently going to be maybe the last user of One for All. And then the chapter ending off the way it ended off, where Shimura was like, "Hey, Izuku Midoriya, could you kill my grandson for me?" And I'm like, "What? What am I reading?" Now, let me inform you guys. I'm recording this video March 6th, which is Saturday morning at 7:16 a.m. my time, Pacific Standard Time. If you want to know what coast I'm on. Now, as of this time, you're wondering, how did you get the chapter? Because usually you record the videos on Sunday. I got a little antsy, so I looked ahead, and obviously the chapter that leaked out pretty early, and people already came and made their subs and stuff for it. I read the chapter, and I'm like, ninja, what? Now, just because I did that, I'm making this video here, doesn't mean I'm uploading this. I'm doing a whole thing right now. I get that. I'm gonna start uploading the videos on Saturday. I'm gonna have these things where maybe if I look far into a chapter, if it comes out early, I'm gonna record the video probably the Saturday to have it pre-recorded and everything, and then I'll upload it Sunday morning to make things more simple. Even though it's not the official chapter, still, I'll probably go back and look over, and reread the official chapter when it officially comes out. I'll probably do that. If I see anything different or anything changing in terms of how I perceive things, which shouldn't be that much different, then I'll just go back and re-edit my video and freaking just be like, oh yeah, this happened and that. But other than that, that's kind of it. But anyways, this chapter was crazy. From the standpoint, we find out so many damn things in this chapter related to One for All. And the fact that now we know, like, Deku could be the last user, the public's trying to get the word out on One for All now. I'm thinking it's going to come to a point after Deku's get out of this world. That's when it's going to be announced to the world that, yes, One for All is a stockpiling quirk that essentially is passed down to other people. And I feel like it's gonna get out, and yeah, I said that in the last chapter. But anyways, the chapter starts off obviously with where we left off last week. If All Might obviously worried about Deku, but knowing that Deku's talking to the users of One for All, and he's like, I can barely sense anything. Now, Deku, in his mind, he's wondering about everybody else that was in the war effort he came across and wondering if they're all okay. And next thing you know, the One for All vestiges are the previous users of One for All, whatever you want to call them. They're all, with the exception of the second and third users of One for All, they're all sitting in freaking thrones. I'm like, dog, these guys are kings. Well, and a queen in terms of our girl Nana Shimura, but I think everybody knows Nana Shimura is a queen for various reasons. Again, whoever piped that girl, they're so lucky. Anyways, yeah, like I said, you have all the users of One for All, even the little, I guess you can say, fieriness left within All Might is there. Now, he don't say a thing. As well as the second and third users. We see the second and the third users, but then this is the first time we finally see them not in full silhouette. We see the designs, what they look for. We just don't see their front designs. We just see their back. Because for some reason, apparently, Horikoshi's still teasing us, who could these guys be and stuff like that. Now, a lot of people have been speculating that one's Kirishima and another one's Bakugo. The one you see that, if you look at this panel to the right, he doesn't look like Kirishima. I don't know. Anyways, their face is back. But the third one, interesting enough, people might try to put 2 and 2 together with Bakugo because he looks similar, because he's got some gauntlet wrists. Again, it's so far in the distance that we can't see, so it could be Bakugo, it could not be. I'm of the fan that I don't want it to be Bakugo. I want it to kind of be somebody like new, like somebody we ain't seen before or something like that. But if it is where some sort of time travel thing happens, okay. I just kind of don't want time travel to be in My Hero Academia, because time travel in other anime series can be good to okay to maybe they didn't need to introduce the story point. But I like the fact all of them are just sitting before Deku and they're like, okay, time to talk, kiddo, because we got a lot to tell you. Essentially, the first user of One for All essentially is like, okay, look, we have a bit of time. You know, you're passed out right now, you're knocked out. Okay, we have a chance to talk to you because we need to tell you some information that might be huge for your future as well as for the Quirk's future. So, okay. Listen, they make a mention that the only time that they were really only able to access Deku and talk to him is when his, brain or his mind was mentally shaken. Whenever he was in disarray of emotions and stuff like that, that's when they'd be able to come in and talk to him and be like, okay, hey buddy, how you doing? But now, because the last encounter with All for One and the fact that he tried to take the Quirk from them and enter their realm, essentially, now it seems like the vestiges are easier. It's easier to communicate with Deku now. They're able to probably be like, pop in and be like, hey, we need to talk to you about something. Do you think you can go take a chill pill or a nap and come talk to us, and we'll freaking let you in and out, and then goodbye, and stuff like that. Now, the first user goes on to mention that the last 4 months, the power of One for All has been growing exponentially. And with that increase in capabilities, the profiles of the previous holders of One for All were copy and pasted, and over time, we were able to communicate with the others as well. So essentially, they said, like, as the powers were going stronger, over time, the more and more we've been able to communicate with users of One for All at the time and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, that's cool, that's dope. Anyways, like I said, he makes a mention of the fact that the whole All for One encounter in their realm made it easier for them to access it. So I wonder, going forward for the storyline, like I said, will he get like some sort of, I don't know, sense to his mind, be like, I need to go take a nap to talk to the vestiges? Or maybe Deku can go now, maybe he can go down and talk, lay down, maybe sleep, and really, if he concentrates hard enough, maybe he can get in contact with the vestiges to talk to him about something he needs, or some questions he has. So yeah. Now, what I believe is the 5th user, the Blackwood guy, I forgot what his name was because it's so damn hard to remember all these damn My Hero Academia characters. But he's like, oh yeah, just one thing I just gotta mention. Don't worry, your privacy is safe. So whenever you're doing something private, you can go and lo and behold do it, and we will not bother you. Which I was literally freaking dying, because this guy was probably like one of the comedic, like, light in the chair and all this stuff. Like, he was like probably the funniest user out of One for All, or the one who was taking it, like, I guess you can say acting like a joke type of character. I'm like, okay, that's cool. He's funny as shit. But when I heard that line, I was like, so if he's like, I don't know, doing something behind closed doors with Uraraka or Ochako, I'm guessing the reusers will be like, hey, do not contact him. He's trying to do his business, and we're gonna let him be. Which I think is just hilarious. They're like essentially saying, oh yeah, if you're doing something behind the scenes, we'll leave you alone. That's your business to handle, not ours. So I did find that funny. Stuff like that. Now Deku's trying to talk, but when Deku talks in this realm, he's essentially talking, mumbling. But they do put captions to show what he's truly saying. But Deku is starting to morally do better when it comes to talking in this realm. Now, again, don't ask me why he just didn't point out to the two guys in the back who's just like sitting on a timeout. I don't know why he didn't be like, wow, or something like that. So yeah. But it's seeming like Deku's doing a better job at least getting some words out and stuff like that. And it's funny because he's trying to do that, and the Banjo dude's like, I can't understand what the hell you're saying. Anyways, we see the fourth user come up before Deku, and he's like, okay, now I'll do the talking because it's my turn to introduce myself, since you recently got my quirk. He says his name is Shinomori Hagake. He's the fourth user of One For All, and he mentions the fact that your previous fight brought upon my power and everything. And stuff like that. Again, this guy's kind of a comedic dude too. He's kind of a tough guy that shows some comedic moments. Like Deku makes a mention or Deku says a word, and the dude's like, "Oh shit, I'm scared. You scared me." I was like, "What the hell, bro? This guy is funny as shit." And then again, the fifth user is like, "Bro, let me freaking can I freaking can I freaking what is it, Banjo guy?" He's like, yo, can I freaking wrap my arm around you? And he's like dodging it. I'm like, dude, this man is not trying to talk right here. And stuff like that. Now, Banjo guy says, Mr. Shinomori here is a weirdo hermit who lived in the woods because he was so irritable when it came to society. Now, Shinomori says, it was a turbulent time, and I wasn't aware of everyone else was, which is very interesting, stuff like that. Now, he brings him to mention, do you know my cause of death and stuff like that? My age and cause of death. Deku's like, well, I don't know your cause of death, but I know you were 40. And stuff like that. And essentially, Shinomori is like, oh yeah, I died of old age. And I'm reading this, I'm like, old age? I'm like, 40 is old now. Let's be honest. Way back in time, yes, 40 was an old age. But you look at 40 in 2021, I'm telling you, 40 is like the new 20. Technically, you say that for fucking 50, but okay, you're 40. You would die to still be 40 over I don't know, be 60. Anyways, he goes on to say, I didn't understand why, either. Banjo and I were discussing it amongst each other, but it was through Yagi that we were able to understand. Essentially, he's talking about All Might. And essentially, this is when Shinomori says, in layman's term, One For All is no longer able to be held by a regular person. And listen, if you're just thinking, okay, regular person, what does he mean by regular person there? He's meaning people with quirks. People deemed in society that are born with a quirk, and that's essentially a regular person to somebody. Not a quirkless anybody. Anyways, we'll get later in talking about the reason why this chapter review might be a lot of shit, but I don't care. Anyways, Shinomori goes on to say, I held One For All for the longest, out of anyone aside from All Might, which we all know. All Might is currently one of the few users of One For All that have lived with this power for the longest amount of time and stuff like that. He goes on to say, for those 18 years, I evaded All For One while training with this power. With his phenomenal strength, I realized that I would never be able to beat him in that state. And I just had to nurture this power myself so that someone else could do it. And in my final year, my quirk broke me. He goes on to mention, at first, I thought it was because of me having a weak constitution, at worst, a chronic disease. But with Yagi's existence, he would confirm all theories and suspicions for me. Me dying of old age, it meant that One For All will slowly but surely burn away the life force of any of its users. Which, again, is another humongous standpoint there. He was essentially saying, yeah, I had One For All, and it was slowly draining at my life force. Again, I'm going to get to the reason why, and I'll explain it to make things more simpler in terms of stuff, since I'm reading it essentially from it. Now, Deku goes on to mention, what about All Might who held One For All, who held One For All? And the first, user's like, okay, my turn to start talking again. He's like, that's the thing we're trying to say. He says, Yagi thought that the incongruency in a lifespan had to do with some sort of invisible limit to the load of each of us could take on. I didn't have one for all that long, and I died while fighting, so there wasn't a lot to compare. And that's when he goes on to say that, which led to Shinomori wondering to himself if Yagi had something he didn't. And then we know that All Might was quirkless before he had the quirk, which is what Deku put the 2 and 2 together and stuff like that. And that's what the first user was like, there you go. He's like, it's with Yagi, who's still alive today, that we earn this information. As a model of the subconscious, he relays all the information he learns back to us. We haven't brought it up with you yet because we weren't so sure, but after listening to my brother, I believe the confirmation is clear. The idea that a portion of a quirk's user conscious permeates within the new user makes us wonder the elements of why Yagi being here despite him being quirkless. We thought that the successor's consciousness manifesting itself in this realm was tied to their quirk, but Yagi being quirkless is totally different to all of us, so he's a unique sample that we have to observe, that we'll have to observe. So essentially they're gonna be like, well, we're gonna continue to look over All Might and see, like, we're gonna see how he progresses and stuff in terms of his lifespan and everything, and if the quirk does really eat away at it. But technically the quirk kind of dead within All Might, and stuff like that. Now, he goes on to say, now the first user goes on to say, it seems as though Yagi alone was able to summon our consciousness without knowing about it himself, and stuff like that. Now, okay. So, honestly, if you don't, anyways, I can probably kind of, think about any. One, I know they bring up the quirk singularity theory, which is the whole idea that, quirks from the past generation essentially are going to get outshadowed by quirks of the next generation of kids being brought up because their quirk can be stronger. We saw that theory come up essentially, I believe, if you watch the anime, season 4, the back half when it was Todoroki, Bakugo, Kami, and the one weather guy who can change the weather and stuff like that. We know that the kids were abnormally stronger. And this kind of confirms the theory of the fact of this. So we later see, the meaning is this. So what the one for all users, what the first user kind of describes here, is they use a cup diagram, essentially a cup. So say you fill your cup of water, right? Okay, you fill your cup of water, you have a cup of water, and stuff like that. Actually, let me do a better diagram. I got a water bottle right here. So this water bottle is obviously not full, but it's got water in it. So say it's like a cup and it's full, right? Essentially what they were saying, well, if you take a cup and the person has a quirk, essentially it's already got water in it and it's containing that quirk factor and everything in it. So that's cool and all. So take this cup, which is empty. He's like, so, All Might's cup, it was empty because he was quirkless and he had no quirk. Now the thing is, what they say is, people with the water, who has quirks, they say when the quirk One for All was given to people with, with the, I guess you can say, hold on, I'll be right back, guys. Okay, I'm back. Okay, I want to actually do this diagram. So anyways, as I was saying, the quirk factor, or the quirk of somebody, is already in there. They bring up the fact, so, when we thought about it, we knew from Shinomori's, wording and stuff like that, essentially, when you have One for All stacked upon somebody else's quirk, essentially, this is what happens, man. I'm wasting this damn water bottle. Holy crap. I'm gonna try to show it on the camera. Oh. Good God. Anyways, now you can see that the water bottle essentially now has grown and there's more water in it. Well, essentially what the user said is, yeah, that's what happened. When there was already something, water in there, One for All stacked on top of it. And eventually what happens is, because One for All and the power is also too great to stack, and as well as it's stacking on top of the main base quirk somebody has, it would essentially make the as I'm crushing this water bottle a bit, make the cup crack and essentially spill over, which in due time, essentially you could say the quirk essentially kills the user, and they have to quickly find somebody to get the power and transfer it down. And he's like, well, with the difference though, with All Might is he had no quirk, so his cup was empty. When they gave him One for All, essentially that, you know, the cup filled to what a normal person's cup would feel if they had a quirk. Which again, I thought was a really interesting diagnosis diagram Horikoshi was doing. So it was pretty cool. Again, I put tap water in this. Great waste of water. Anyways, as I was saying, yeah. So essentially, you know, that water with One for All essentially became All Might's main base quirk and stuff like that. And the same can be said for frickin' Deku and stuff like that. So yeah. Now, he goes on to say, the first user goes on to say that though it's still unknown as the causal relationship between One for All being inherited and adapting with the quirk user, it looks as though the least to offer the quirkless has the most potential when inheriting this power. Essentially, the first user saying, well, it seems like to us that people that are quirkless tend to work better with One for All the quirk because it's better for them, compared to somebody that has a quirk, and essentially it will slowly drain their life force from them. So essentially, Horikoshi in writing says this: for the people who want Bakugo, and even people who are fanboying over Mario potentially getting the quirk, or saying Mario should have gotten the quirk when Mario was first introduced, well, when he was finally introduced as a prospect candidate to be the next user, One for All. Well, Horikoshi just essentially just tells those fanboys and those people to shut the fuck up. That's what essentially he said. Do not bring it up. Do not shit on the character that I created, the main character I created. Because guess what? Your lovable heroes like Bakugo and Mirio, they probably would have died at a young age because the quirk would have been ripping away their life force, which is definitely crazy. So again, this goes to show you that Deku is probably the best in this generation for having the quirk. And then again, not saying that there aren't maybe other quirkless individuals, but the best, you know, All Might found and stuff like that. And that's when the other users, in the first users, like, listen, in summary, that's when we come to the knowledge that we cannot pass down this quirk to people that have quirks already in their system. We can only pass it down to people who are quirkless, and stuff like that. Again, further making Horikoshi making a point, like, listen, yeah, you're not gonna get your One for All Bakugo and Mirio, well, unless you watch Heroes Rising, which I still don't know how the fuck the ending is. Spoilers for Heroes Rising if you haven't seen that shit. I'm sorry. Heroes Rising is already out on DVD, and if you haven't seen it, I don't care how you see it. You can go watch it off some pirating website or something like that. Spoilers. So click out the video now if you don't want to hear spoilers or click further into the video if you don't want to hear spoilers for Heroes Rising. We all know in Heroes Rising, Bakugo gets the fucking One for All power. And at the end, it's somehow weakly explained how it manages to go back to Deku. Maybe this had some sort of repercussion thing to do with it, where the user's like, we can't stick with this kid. He's gonna die, so let's go back to Deku. I'm guessing that's the only way they can confirm how the fucking quirk went back to Deku after in the end of the movie. Even though technically Heroes Rising is non-canon, even though technically you can fit it in the storyline, like, you know, the first movie, but hey, it's fine with me. Okay, so yeah. And essentially, he goes on, the first user goes on to say, with each generation, quirkless people have been more and more infrequent, which means the potential applicants are limited, essentially bringing up the singularity theory. We know at the start of My Hero Academia, Deku says that the world, you know, the world has an 80% chance of people having quirks. with this quark singularity theory, it only increases those odds of people having quarks. Eventually, it's going to get to a point where it hits 100%, where people, every generation that's further generation that's born, there's going to be a chance you have a quark. And I feel like there'd be like 1 in like 100 people would end up being quarkless. Essentially, they're saying, and essentially they go on saying, he's like, this is something neither Yagi nor you or any of us could have predicted. The fact was, it was passed into, One for All was passed to you was like a short of a miracle. He's essentially saying, bro, that very first episode, the very first manga chapter of My Hero Academia, whatever you watch of My Hero Academia content, mostly people here reading the manga watch both this and read the manga. But it's crazy to believe that their first episode, when All Might and Deku run into each other, and he's like, I'm gonna give you this power, to say that was like some short of a miracle says like, bruh. Because we do know that All Might was on his way to potentially go find Mirio and give him the quirk. And the fact that he came across Deku, a quirkless boy, because he also saw himself within Deku, and gave him the power, goes to show you, Jesus, the crazy storytelling Horikoshi's giving us. Stuff like that. And even the first, he was like, if only we were able to communicate with our successors faster, perhaps we could have prevented more tragic deaths and more people. And essentially that's when Banjo is like, dude, in other words, you might be the last user of One for All, because the chances of finding another quirkless individual, I'm guessing, unless it's like his kid and his kid somehow doesn't get, a quirk of his, like, okay, let's say this, Deku and Ochaku get married. I know, shipping people get upset at me. That's gonna it's probably not gonna happen. Horikoshi probably won't go that far, but they're gonna hook up, probably, more than likely, which again is more the ideal one. So to all the other shippers, stay mad. So say that happens, and they end up having a kid together. So, there could be a 50-50 chance that Deku, since he was originally quirkless, their kid might end up being quirkless, and I feel like the only thing that can be passed down is their kid was quirkless. He would only have to pass the quirk down if he wanted to his kid, and stuff like that. Unless their kid somehow ends up with some sort of mixture of. Again, we don't. It's weird because, it's weird because I think Nana Shimura is the only one who had the quirk and also at the same time given birth to a kid, which. And we do know that One for All has to be willingly passed down. It's not like a hereditary thing where you get the genomes of your parents with the quirk, and you could end up having One for All born within you and stuff like that. And that's a very interesting statement anyways, the fact that Deku may actually be the last. I still have a sneaking suspicion he'll find another quirkless individual kid, and maybe he'll pass it down to them. But at the same time, it's like, well, shit. If he's the last user, and if they do take out One for All for good, you'd think Deku would hold on to the quirk and just be like, well, One for All is gone. I'm guessing it's time for All for One's gone. I think it's time for One for All when it's Deku's time to pass on into the next life, into the afterlife. Maybe it's like, maybe I can take One for All with me and stuff like that. So yeah, and that was crazy. And then the manga chapter ends off in a way where you don't think the manga chapter was going to end off. Literally, the manga chapter ends off with Nana Shimura talking to Deku, like, I think in one of the first few times that she's ever spoken to Deku. And it's funny because you think, oh, guess what? They don't have a nice conversation of the fact, like, oh, how's All Might treating you? I hope he's a good, teacher. No, we don't get that. Nana Shimura opens up her mouth for the first time, and it's one thing that that some fans have wanted to hear is like, is she gonna bring the fact that Izuku, is she gonna tell Izuku that, like, yeah, don't worry, Shigarachi's my grandson? She actually just straight out says, like, oh yeah, Izuku, do you think you can kill Tomorai Shigarashi for me? And And that's when the manga chapter ends off, and I'm like, what? Oh my god. I'm like, she wants him to kill her grandson? There's a whole sort of possibilities. You know, what she could say next week. I don't know. I don't know if we're getting another break. I don't know if we're getting a break. I feel like we are, but hopefully we don't. But you know, you can see that obviously when Nana Shimura, and the way she looks in the panel too, she looks like she's destroyed at what Tomura has become. And we're also, that's also when she's probably gonna reveal that to Deku, like, Tomura Shigarashi is my grandson, and he went down this dark path because All Might consumed him, or not All Might, All for One consumed him to be the way he is today. And you need to kill him to free him from himself. And maybe, it can be looked at as way as, her wanting Deku to save him in his own way. It's very freaking interesting, like, very freaking interesting. Like, just seeing that, I was like, yo, like, she wants Deku to kill her own grandson. So I'm guessing next chapter, Nana Shimura is going to explain to Deku that he's my grandson and I need you to kill him because of this thing. Maybe, like I said, maybe she's suffering on the inside that she knows that one of her greatest adversaries that essentially killed her took her grandson in and essentially consumed him to be something similar to him. But at the same time, we all see, she even saw that All for One is taking over Shigarachi's body, and maybe she feels that Shigarachi is going through some pain, some agony. You're saying that, All for One's just manipulating him, and stuff like that. I need you to kill him so he can be saved from himself. And again, like I said, it could be a way to essentially, because we have a reason that Deku at the end of the war arc, he even makes a mention like, Shigarachi looked like he needed saving. And that's what I even predicted. I'm like, Shigarachi looks like he needs to be saved by Deku from the All for One, personality symbiote type of thing taking over his body. And I feel like they're going to explain in a way that Deku killing Shigarachi, even though Deku might not want to do it, Deku killing Shigarachi might be the way to save Shigarachi from the grasp of All for One and send him on to the afterlife. So this chapter was crazy. I highly enjoyed this chapter. Hopefully you like my demonstration with the water bottle stuff. But this was insane. This foreverly changed the game for how One for All, works now. Essentially, that whole thing it shut down any freaking potential theories that Mirio was the best user, Bakugo should have had it, because guess what? They would have died at early ages, probably around the same age as Shinomori. And even further evidence to point that, well, One for All is just perfect for Deku, and stuff like that. And again, he's already got 4 quirks of One for All. He doesn't have the 2 others. We still don't know what the second and third users, look like. Listen, it's just insane, man. And again, like I said, when he wakes up, All Might and Deku have got a lot of explaining to do, because they're probably gonna have to tell. Now, maybe the public will know as well, and maybe All Might will be like, I think it's time that people now know about your quirk. So I think that's when maybe we'll get a scene where, some heroes will find out what his quirk's about, yada yada yada. Some students, probably only the entire class 1A group, will probably also be in the same room too, see Deku. Deku will probably tell amongst them, listen, I have this very crazy quirk that essentially I'm like, what I'm gonna be All Might. I'm essentially gonna be a better version of All Might. Which is insane, and I feel like his friends in his class are gonna be shocked, like, that's why he kept improving every time in class and it's gonna be interesting to see what the class thinks gonna be like. So that's why he got more skilled as the time persists. That's why we saw what we saw with the whole Black Whip incident in the class 1A versus class 1 team battle. And they're gonna be like, now we know why he's so weird and so mysterious. And I feel like it's going to be more of a cause of the classmates willing to have Deku's back and being good companions to him and stuff like that. Especially, like, you definitely know girl Ochako was going to be like, I have your back, Deku, no matter what, and stuff like that. Hopefully, I honestly, I hope the class finds out. I want the entire class to find out. And I just want to see the reactions to the fact. That's what I just want to see. Honestly, the reaction to the fact that Deku is essentially a dude who's special. And it's funny too because, you know, when other people go through it, people are gonna be like, "Wait, Bakugo, you're not like shocked about this," and Bakugo gonna be like, "I already knew about that." So yeah. But it was a very interesting chapter. One for All very much explained itself, and we're gonna get some more explanation. And I think by the end of next week's chapter, or whenever the next chapter 305 releases, that's when Deku's probably gonna wake up, and that's when he's gonna start explaining what the hell One for All is about, and stuff like that. So yeah, good chapter, changed the game, and I cannot wait to see the next chapter of My Hero Academia. Anyways, guys, if you guys like the video, leave a like. Put in the comment section your thoughts on this manga chapter, as well as the subscribe button to get more My Hero Academia content. Anyways, guys, I'm the Galaxy, and hopefully till then, guys, you guys have to stay safe and have a great rest of your day. Till then, guys, peace.